Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 4th Jan. The news items which we have picked up from the Hindu are these 8. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, bird flu. Mysuru Zoo to be shut till Feb 2. So this is Mysuru Zoo in Karnataka which will be shut down for a month. First time in its history that it will be closed to tourists for such a long period. So the reason for this being that migratory birds had died in a pond in Mysuru Zoo, and these samples were sent for testing in the laboratories, and it has confirmed that the death was caused due to bird flu, that is avian influenza H5N8. So this was a strain which was found. So now the zoo would be closed for sterilization. So bird flu is a threat which had become a global pandemic as declared by World Health Organization at one point too. So this actually transmits from birds to humans. But this virus, bird flu virus, is highly mutating. So it changes in such a way that its characteristics, its functioning changes. So there are all possibilities that later it may even result in human to human transmissions, which presently it is said that is not the case. So that is the bird flu. The symptoms you can see here, general symptoms of influenza, flu which we see are the symptoms here too. But then there is no human immunity is not there against this. So it may turn out to be fatal as well. This you can see how it started, and it may turn into a pandemic as well. So there are various strains. Presently it is H5N8 which was seen. H5N1 was the virus which had become pandemic as declared by World Health Organization once. Then the next news item is, after Sardha scam, Rose Valley came under scrutiny. So Sardha scam was very much in news in 2013. You should know about it. So Dipta Sen, who was the head of this entire Sardha group. So what was this? Is a chit fund company. Now what is a chit fund? Is the small amounts of money are collected from large number of people. So many people contribute to it, and the rates of returns are very good. Means you give 500, you will get 500 in a month or something. So or 100 in a month. For every 500 you will get 100 in a month as a return on it. So apart from the capital amount which you have. So such higher returns make people feel attracted towards such schemes, and they invest in such schemes. So it's a large scale investment chit fund scheme which is started, and what happens because of this is people invest a lot of money, and the owner of this company would get huge amount of money coming in his fund, and he would repay them. What he has promised, he would do that, but he could not do it for a long time because the money which is coming to him, he is not investing in some business from which profits are coming, anything from which profits are coming, and then the profits would be distributed to the investors. That is not the case. The investments are taken in, and people, the fresh investors who bring in money are the ones who are helped. That money is used to repay the previous investors. So that same money is put from here to there. So eventually such a scheme collapses. Eventually there will be a collapse. Either it comes out in the open, if they are not able to pay the interest amount as they had promised, and it comes out in the open and the scheme collapses, or the owner of the scheme runs away with all the money and the entire scam comes out in the open. So these are such scams. They are called Ponzi scams. So named after this one person who is Charles Ponzi, who was an American who had such a scheme initiated. So this is how it goes on. The entire Ponzi scheme is discussed here. So an investment scheme, it lures investors by offering unusually high payouts. So returns are quite high. So everybody is attracted. People who get repaid, they say, I got such good returns and I've been getting them consistently for a few months. Also, he would be very much having faith in the organization, in the chit fund in which he has invested, and many others would join in with him. And all of them, and this huge crowd gathers in, a huge amount of funding is coming in. Finally, the fund collapses, chit fund collapses, and all these investors are completely duped. So this is the whole case. So the chit fund, this was one chit fund scheme, Sardha scheme, on which investigation is still going on. 60 plus people committed suicide. So, and even that happens, that if a person is getting for a small deposit, is getting good returns for so long, then he would feel I should invest more, and one person himself invests a lot. So when there is a huge amount of investment involved eventually, and there are no returns coming in, and his capital amount is also gone, the person has nothing else to do. So there are many suicides also committed in such cases. So this was the Sardha scam which had come out in the open in 2013, the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate, who looks into such financial scams, are looking into this case also. Presently, the next scam which has come out is the Rose Valley scam. So both are from West Bengal, and many politicians from Trinamool Congress are also indicted in this scam. Even the Trinamool minister, a minister was also arrested in the Sardha scam. So that is why again Mamata Banerjee is also been, allegations are leveled against her, and counter allegations against BJP and the ruling center are put forth by her. So whatever be the truth behind it, but these are the Ponzi scams. Right, this is Gautam Kundu, the head of the Rose Valley scam. But in this case, the returns were still being provided. So it had not failed to pay the returns, but then still investigation is required into the whole scheme. What was it, whether it was a Ponzi scheme or not, and if it is, then of course it is not allowed under Indian financial laws, so it will be prosecuted against. He was arrested in 2015 itself. Then the next news item is poll panel caught in tussle for cycle. So you must have read about Samajwadi Party and the tussle which is going on within the party. The party head is Mulayam Singh Yadav and his son Akhilesh Yadav, who is the present Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. For the forthcoming elections in UP, the Samajwadi Party head Supremo Mulayam Singh Yadav put forth a list of candidates who will be contesting elections, and Akhilesh Yadav then separately later put forth his own set of candidates. So there are make and break going on between the two, but then the rift in the party is quite evident. So now presently, for the symbol of Samajwadi Party, the bicycle, it is claimed by both sides. So they have both gone ahead to Election Commission. So now Election Commission will look into the matter about who will be getting this symbol for the forthcoming election. So most probably it may be the case that neither of them can retain this, because it will take some time for Election Commission to take decision on this, and in a few days now poll schedule will be announced. So post that any change will be difficult. So let's wait and watch what happens in this too. So it's a war on the symbol. Bicycle is the symbol of Samajwadi Party. Then the next news item is Manipur CM MLAs rush to meet Pranab. So this is Manipur, which we have read about earlier. Two new districts have been created in Manipur, because of which the Naga origin rebels are protesting in Manipur, and they have even undertaken economic blockade. Roadblock has been put forth there. We saw during the time of demonetization that even before demonetization, roadblock was since November 1. So apart from demonetization, Manipur is facing another problem as well. So presently the central government had asked the center also, the state government, to also undertake talks and end the economic blockade. The center had also put forth its assistance to ensure that economic blockade is ended. But now the center is thinking of bringing in, of delaying the elections which are scheduled in Manipur. The state government does not want elections to be delayed, but then the center says, looking at the situation, what can be done is that elections can be delayed a little. The state government also has apprehensions that president's rule may be imposed, but the center has not shown any such inclination, but yes, they are inclined to delaying elections. So now how far would that be possible? Because center cannot dictate terms to Election Commission. Election Commission is an independent body. It will decide whether elections can be held or not and take a decision. But the Home Ministry has put forth its suggestions that they want the elections. They think that the elections should be delayed. The next news item is Supreme Court asks for list of firms with debt over rupees 500 crore. So we see non-performing assets is a major question before the banks, bad loans as we call them. So these bad loans are taken care of by debt recovery tribunals. So such tribunals, which are quasi-judicial bodies which are set up, look into recovery of these debts. So the government wants the Supreme Court wants empirical data from the government on all such cases which are pending before the debt recovery tribunals for over 10 years now. So that list would be provided. The Supreme Court is also asking for the list of all those corporates which have a debt of over rupees 500 crore. So that list should also be provided by the government. Also, it is questioning the government to give its point of view whether the debt recovery tribunal is well equipped. Means infrastructure and manpower is sufficient to deal with recovery of debts. So that assertion is also required from the government. So these are the questions put forth. The government had passed recently in this in the session before this, actually in the monsoon session, it had passed this law, an amendment to various debt related laws like enforcement of security interest, the SARFAESI Act which is there, and recovery of debt loans. All such acts were amended to make it quicker to recover debts. So whether such have also been sufficient or not is a question, and Supreme Court is skeptical about this, that even these amendments will not be sufficient to recover debts, to ensure that recovery of debts take place. So now the Supreme Court is also looking into this matter. So this here you can see powers of debt recovery tribunals which are put forth. So it's how the judiciary works. So summoning and examining under oath, documents, evidences are provided, affidavits are provided. It can give its judgment, it can pass interim orders to, it can attach the property of the defendant to, or even ask that it should not, no handling of this, or no any transaction on the property or assets would not take place till the case is pending before the tribunal. So all such points can also be put forth by the tribunal. So this is regarding that, and this is regarding the amendments which the government had passed. So these were proposals in the monsoon session, they have been passed. So the laws which have been amended are like the SARFAESI Act of 2002. So this is an act which gives power to banks and financial institutions to auction the property which has been kept as a security in cases of loans which have defaulted. So making it better, empowering the banks, financial institutions to recover debts. So these are acts already in place. Amendments have been made to these to further strengthen the banks. So second act also like Recovery of Debts Due to Banks and Financial Institutions Act. So these such acts have been amended, and now like a new law, it says helps banks to take over companies. So companies which are unable to pay the loans, the banks can convert the debt which is there into security, means they become stakeholders in the company. Now how effectively will banks or through them be able to make the company function or work? That is another question, because companies are not repaying the loans, means there are issues, concerns there. So how effectively banks after takeover will be able to run it? So those aspects are also there, but these laws are giving more powers to the banks to help in recovering their debts, or at least converting their debts into securities. So that way. Then the next news item is no concessions likely for Apple's manufacturing unit. So this is regarding Apple, the company which manufactures iPhone and iPads. So it wants to establish its manufacturing unit here in India. So that would be, Bengaluru has been chosen as a place as well. So it would be an investment done by the company here, establishing itself here. So that is called FDI, Foreign Direct Investment. So for FDI in single brand retail, there is a requirement that 30% of the unit which you take, sourcing should be done from the local region. So that is local sourcing, means you have to use local resources, buy from local, so that the economy within the country also gets a spur. So that way this provision has been put in for single brand retail, and for multi-brand retail too there is this rule. So this is a single brand retail. Single brand retail means one company itself establishing, one brand establishing itself. Multi-brand retail is something like Walmart, which has many companies, commodities which are sold under its roof. So that is multi-brand retail. So this Apple is demanding exemption from this 30% local sourcing norm on FDI in single brand retail. So the argument which it is putting forth is that it is manufacturing cutting edge technology. So this cutting edge technology, this local sourcing norm should not be there, is not there. So but then it says that because we cannot source components here from India, from the locals here, because it is cutting edge technology. But the government is not keen on this, because it says other mobile companies have also established themselves in India and they have not been given any exemptions. So government is not keen on giving exemptions to Apple as such. But then Apple, we know, manufactures high-end phones and devices. So how effectively can they be put under this cutting edge technology, and whether they can or cannot be will be looked into. So the central government is looking into this, and it will come up with its decision. So we'll wait and watch what happens here on this matter. So this is regarding the 30% rule, that if FDI is beyond 51%, if it's a lesser percentage of FDI, then it's not required. But in a unit, if 51% is foreign direct investment, then in such cases 30% of the value of goods purchased will be done from India. So this is the 30% local sourcing. So inputs which are used should be from India. And it's there also from India. It is there in the law, preferably from medium and small enterprises like village and cottage industries, artisans, craftsmen. So this is the 30% local sourcing requirement. Even for multi-brand retail, it's there. For multi-brand retail, it is Indian small industries. So this is regarding the cutting edge technology. So this is a gray area here. So it should be clearly defined what exactly is cutting edge technology, so that we can understand whether a particular request which is put forth, like this in this case of Apple, whether it falls under cutting edge technology or not within the FDI framework. So we'll see how does that happen. India is a huge market for smartphones. It is one of the largest markets in the world for smartphones. So let's see. Then the next news item is diamond contracts set to debut soon in India. So it is Indian Commodity Exchange Limited, ICEX, which is promoted by Reliance Capital. So this commodity exchange is planning to come forth with diamond trading, commodity trading. So this has been given initial approval by SEBI, because you need SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India's permission to undertake commodity exchanges. So of course diamond can be exchanged on exchange platforms, commodity exchange platforms. What is commodity trading, we are going to see below. So in September 2016, Centre has added 6 new commodities that can be traded on the exchange platform. So these are diamonds, tea, eggs, cocoa, pig iron and brass. So that's why it's allowed, but still the SEBI will finally give its approval for this diamond commodity exchange, which would be established. So this India will become the first country in the world where polished diamonds will be traded on commodity exchange. So this is going to be put into effect soon. So what happens is diamond contracts would be traded. So what is this trading? We'll see. So it's like a financial investment. So presently gold, silver commodities are traded, but diamond is not traded on exchanges. So a global benchmark on diamond pricing is not there. So that's why if a commodity exchange starts, then this global pricing benchmark would also be put forth, and ICEX, Indian Commodity Exchange Limited, says that we would be the pioneers here then deciding on the diamond prices. So this is the initiative. What is commodity trading? Basically is that you invest. So basically it's an exchange. So you will be buying securities, stocks. So this is a derivative. Means so what you're buying is a stock, is a paper, or even if it is online. So it's a particular unit, but then its value is based on the value of diamond, polished diamond in this case, for example. So means it is a derivative. Derivative means its value is derived from the value of diamond. So see, these are called commodity derivatives. So commodity derivatives are traded. And how are they traded? How will you benefit or not? Means you speculate whether the prices would increase or decrease, the way you do with stocks. So stocks of companies are brought and sold off. When they are brought, when you expect that right now the price is low and later the price would rise. So in those cases, you buy a lot of those company stocks, and when the prices rise, then you are getting those profit, that rise as a profit, that trades as a profit, and you sold off. If you sell off at that point of time, you get all of it as a profit. So that's how exchanges work, how securities, stocks work. So these will be commodity derivatives. So you speculate and decide on the trend, the pricing, high or going high or low, and based on that you exchange them on the exchange platform. So this is how commodity derivatives function. So this will be started off based on diamond. So based on diamond pricing, this commodity exchange would start. So it's a future contract. It's not necessary that you have to buy the particular commodity. Even before the it's a future contract, means a date is decided, that this will be the date at which I would buy at a particular price. So even if you have decided a future contract too, for example, in a particular case, you can sell it off before that to somebody else too. And even if you have decided at a particular date, then based on what is the price at that point of time, based on what future contract means, price is predetermined, decided earlier only that in future at this price, this would be sold off. So these are the way commodity exchanges function. Not necessary that you hold the commodity. You can just buy and sell the derivatives only. So this is called commodity trading. So it's all explained here. So you can, that's what it says. You could sell this contract anytime before expiry of it. So it's not necessary that you buy. But in this case also it has been provided, in the case of diamond, that it has been provided that the diamond, if you have a particular amount of commodity derivative which you have brought, then the diamond as such, the polished diamond of that value can also be given to you. It would be handed over to you at the time of the future contract. So that aspect will also be there if you want to hold the commodity also. So this is regarding this, that stock prices are quoted on a daily basis in the stock markets. So in the same manner, commodity future prices are also quoted on the commodity exchanges. So that's buying and selling taking place. Here again it is shown that why commodity trading can be undertaken, because for example gold is already there. Gold commodity trading takes place. So why do people buy gold? Because they speculate that the prices would increase later, so they would benefit. So they want to have gold is brought by them. So rather than buying gold where there are risks involved, because it's the actual gold with you, you have to take care of the commodity as such too. Its security is a concern as well. So all those aspects, and whether the gold which you're buying, whether it is of pure quality or not, or you have been cheated on the quality. So these aspects you will not have to worry about if you are buying the gold derivative, means commodity derivative. So on the exchange you are buying gold worth that much, which is only a paper, a unit, or a unit electronically, that way. So it's just shown on a website. If it's done online, it's on a website, a unit shown. So that way it is brought. So in that cases you have no worries, and at a future date if the prices are increasing, that your stock prices would increase, on the commodity derivative prices would increase, and you would benefit. So it works the same way without any hassles and security concerns. So that's what is commodity trading. So that is that. And even if you want to buy it at a future date, you can buy also. So that aspect can also be there. Then the last news item is key proteins that make Zika virus so deadly identified. So Zika virus has been in news for quite some time now. It has affected a huge population, more so in America, South America, in Brazil specifically, and even in North America. So a group of US scientists have now understood the Zika virus genome and the proteins. So there are 7 key proteins, they say, which make the Zika virus deadly. So there is of course further research required on how these proteins function and they affect the population, because it is seen that Zika virus, when it has affected, so it is passed, this virus is passed through Aedes mosquitoes only, the way Aedes aegypti mosquito, which also passes on dengue and chikungunya. So Zika virus is also passed through this mosquito. So it was first found in Zika forest in Uganda. So this disease, Zika virus disease, is basically from Africa, and from there now it is seen that America has also been affected because of this Zika virus. So its spread is quite evident presently. So it's seen that when pregnant women are affected by the Zika virus, the child which they gave birth to suffers from various birth defects. The most prominent one was microcephaly. Microcephaly is a condition in which the child's head size, brain size, is normal than the normal head size. So this normal head size is this much, the child's head would be smaller, and the brain development is impaired. So this is the disease which has affected a huge population, and large number of cases have been detected in Brazil. So as the map also shows here, that Zika virus, where the spread is. So currently reported cases are here in USA. Active transmission is taking place in this South America region and here in Mexico, and then some cases are also there in USA. This is Alaska region, part of USA only, and this is Australia. Plus Zika cases reported prior to 2015. This is the 2015 outbreak, and prior to 2015 it was seen in some African countries, even in India, Pakistan, and here in Southeast Asia. Some countries were affected here, Indonesia, Malaysia, and these countries. So these were Zika virus cases before, but presently Zika virus cases are seen in these countries in the Pacific. So this is microcephaly, one condition because of which is caused due to Zika virus, and this is in children, and in adults this is Guillain-Barré syndrome which is seen. So that is a disorder of the nerves. The peripheral nerves are affected, because of which the sensory information is conveyed through the nerves, the peripheral nerves. So then means this is information going from the brain to the motor cells. Motor movement is taken care of by this. So it results in weakness, numbness of the legs and arms. So loss of movement also takes place. So this is a syndrome which is again caused due to Zika virus in adults. So this is the disease. So presently the news is that this genome is being understood, and the proteins which are making it so difficult, so dangerous, are being studied, how they function, so that a cure for it can also come forth, because presently there is no effective vaccine or treatment for Zika virus infection. It is only the symptoms that can be prevented and treated, but not the disease as such. So that is an important breakthrough in understanding Zika virus. So these are the news items for today. Thank you.